All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the next in the series of virtual lunch and learns with North Florida and Greater Atlanta. And we'll be welcoming some more of you as well. Thank you again for joining us. And above all, we hope that you and your families are coping in this trying time. And we are glad that we can provide some way of being together in community and learning more about Jewish National Fund and so many of our great partners and affiliates. And today we have a wonderful guest in Rabbi Leor Sinai of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. Quick show of hands before I go further. Who here is a alum of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel, or is the parent or grandparent of such? So for people on the call, okay, we've got a few of us, and if people are calling in, my hand is raised as well, and it's for me a full circle of having been a student myself, and just 10, 15 years later to become a member of the Jewish National Fund staff and helping to pay it back in many ways for that wonderful program. And like all the rest of the world right now, they're facing their own challenges, and we're going to be hearing and learning more about how those challenges are being met and even looking forward because that's what we must do. So I will now pass it over to Jay Kaminsky, my colleague, director in Tampa, and we will proceed from there. So please, Jay.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I want to mirror what Josh said, and that's honestly, we truly appreciate everybody being able to get on this call in the middle of the day. Some of us don't have a lot to do, some of us have too much to do, and some of us have nothing to do. So the changes in our new normal continue every day, and we are blessed to be representing Israel and to have a show of support this strong on this call. I think we had about 42 to 50 people that were planning on being here. Some of them are calling in, so we'll take them as they come. We're lucky today because we do have Rabbi Leor Sinai with us, and over the last year and a half, we've been with JNF. Rabbi Leor has been very influential in terms of me hearing him speak and how he is able to capture the attention of the people that listen and participate with him. So as a co-CEO of the Alexander Muss High School, Rabbi Leor Sinai is the driving force behind the only non-denominational, pluralistic English language semester abroad academic experience in Israel for high school students. He builds lifelong bonds between youth and family by immersing them in and enamoring them with Israel's history and culture. So, Rabbi, welcome on behalf of everybody. We need to.
Hi, everybody.
There he is. Hey, Leor. So do us a favor.
Yeah.
Some of us on the phone do not know much about Muss and the programs. So would you take a few minutes? This would be about a 45-minute call. But if you take a few minutes just to give everybody a general background about what it is you do and what Muss does, that would be great.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I hope everybody's doing great. I hope your families are well. I know these are trying times and uncertain times, but I have to tell you, I'm optimistic, I'm inspired, and I can't wait till this is going to be all over, because wow, what is society going to look like when this is all said and done? All this FaceTime we have, this communication, this reaching out. I mean, I'm supposed to be reaching out to you. I've had donors and lay leaders reach out to me. Hey, Leor, how are you? I mean, it's just been mind-blowing. Whereas we might have taken for granted the freedom we had to say hello to a neighbor, to walk across the street, to reach out to a friend and shake their hand, to give a call to someone. Now here we are. En lanu brera, we have no choice but to be together here. So I'm really excited about what's happening here. I'm optimistic, and I'm up for the challenge, because we all know with every challenge that comes before us, not just our people, but humanity at large, with every channel that comes before us, there is opportunity. And this is it right here. So first of all, thank you all for having me. And I see so many familiar faces. It's so good to see you all on this gathering here. I wish I could reach out and hug you, but it'll have to wait till the next time. Hey, And first of all, okay, so Alexander Muss High School in Israel, okay, formerly known as HSI, then AMHSI, and now it's JNF AMHSI. Maybe we'll add a few more abbreviations in the years to come. But it started in 1972 with a rabbi who had a vision. His name was Rabbi Morris Kipper, may he rest in peace, of blessed memory, from South Florida. Rabbi Morris Kipper in 1972 came up with an idea. He said, you know what? There's no such thing as a teen immersive academic program in Israel. Let's create something. Sure, at the time, for many, I know you're all, post year 70s, right? But if you can remember in the 70s or so, in the 80s too, even myself growing up, most of us came to Israel and, we volunteered in a kibbutz, right? We volunteered in another program, Livnoto Lehibanot, we were in Young Judea, but there was never such a thing as a semester abroad program in Israel for high school kids. Sure, there were opportunities to go to Israel or any other country for a semester abroad in college, but in high school, that didn't exist. So Rabbi Morris Kipper, may he rest in peace, came up with this idea. He approached the community in South Florida and said, let's create this. They agreed, and they started. And the program actually was born in South Florida, which is why we have so many alumni, by the way, to this day, who come from South Florida. Thankfully, the program has grown across the U.S. and around the world to this point. But that's where it started. It started with 10 students in 1972. To this day now, we're at 1,500 students. Remarkable growth, remarkable success, despite wars. Yom Kippur War, Gulf War, First Intifada, Second Intifada, the Gaza wars of the last couple of summers. Nothing stopped us. Of course, this did, but I'll get to that in a moment. The genius behind this opportunity is that what it did was it provided students to come to Israel, not just for a 4-week or a 6-week summer session, which is fine and very experiential, but for an academic experience. To live in Israel for a long, extended period of time while you are in high school, before you even go to college. And for all of us who are involved today and know what's happening today on many university campuses, we ought to say to ourselves, wow, that's genius. Why take a kid to Israel after college? Sure, that's fine. No matter what, bring him to Israel whenever you come, whether you're 25, 30, whatever age you are, come to Israel. If we're going to have a real lifelong impact, let's get them before they go to college. Let's give them the knowledge, the strength, the conviction, so they can stand up while they're on university campuses and celebrate Israel. And so it started back in 1972, as I had mentioned, and has gone on since then for 47 years. 32,000 alumni ever since. What happened was in the early mid-80s, it was always called high school in Israel. In the mid-80s, a gentleman by the name of Stephen Muss had a niece, I believe it was a niece or a nephew, who attended the program. His family member returned and was transformed for life. Mr. Stephen Muss was in awe, in shock, and at the same time was looking for a program to support and sponsor in memory of his father, Alexander Muss. Alexander Muss, by the way, ironically, the year that HSI was formed was in 1972. Alexander Muss passed away in 1972. Just a little information there. So Stephen Muss made a significant gift to the high school in Israel in the early mid-80s in memory of his father, Alexander Muss High School in Israel. That's where the name came from, because before that it was known as HSI High School in Israel. Stephen Muss maintained his position as chair of the board for many, many years, until at some point in time he came to realize, I need to find a home for this program. I'm getting older. I can't handle the financial burden on my own, which is what he was doing, and all the respect, of course, to him for taking it on. I need to find a home. This is just in around, let's say around the early 2000, mid-2010 even. JNF at the same time, Jewish National Fund USA, for all that JNF does, and maybe some might say that it does too much, so much, what doesn't it do? JNF at the same time was looking to get involved in a very big way in the world of Zionist education. Because for all considering, JNF does birthright trips, we do Caravan for Democracy, we do alternative winter breaks, it's all wonderful. But these are 10-day trips, 8-day trips, a week-long trip, a volunteer, very impactful experiences. But to have a robust Zionist education program under your belt, that's what JNF was looking for. And like JNF, who loves to partner and collaborate with everyone, rather than go ahead and reinvent the wheel, They did their research, while at the same time, simultaneously, the Muss family was looking for a home. JNF was looking to get involved. And on one leg, a shidduch was made, a match made in heaven. They, of course, got together, the leadership of both sides. They did their due diligence. They formed the committee. They did the financial background, the history, this and that, and finding out everything. Where it came to a realization, and finally, in the summer of 2013, in around June 2013, the decision was made that JNF was going to merge with the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. Not a partner, right? JNF has many affiliates, very important affiliations, very important causes that the state of Israel needs, from children with disabilities to Sderot, to the Arava Center, to hospitals being built, to ensuring population growth outside of the triangle zone of Haifa, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem. We all know and recognize, and Ben Gurion was right, the Jewish people would be tested in the Negev. We must develop that 60% of that area of land. We need to grow it, build communities, opportunities, jobs, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, JNF realized if we don't invest in our next generation, but in a big way, then all of this means nothing. Because I ask you, and I even challenge you, who's going to be sitting in your seats in 30, 40, 50 years from now? Maybe you live to 120. Who's going to be replacing your leadership? And that's the question that JNF asked. And so I've been involved, by the way, just a bit about me. I've been involved with JNF since 1999. I started at JNF out of college as a fundraiser. I didn't know what it meant. Russell Robinson said, you know, we're going to mold you into a fundraiser. You know, he uses his hands like this when he speaks. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but if it means helping Israel, sign me up. And I've been with this organization ever since. And so when Russell shared with me the idea that, hey, we're going to merge with JNF, with HSI, I said, what do you need? I challenged him. What do you need this for? You're doing so much. What do you need this headache of a school and children and medical needs and allergies and education? What do you need it for? Let someone else. He said, because if we don't do it, nobody will, and we need to invest in our next generation. I'll stop right there.
Thank you, Rabbi. That was great. We're out of time, so I want to thank everybody for getting on the call with us.
God bless you all. Happy Passover.
Yes. Okay. So, Rabbi, one of the questions that our professional staff between Georgia and Northern Florida have wanted to know and wanted to hear from you, because not only do you represent the Muss family and the affiliation between JNF and Muss, but also you are living in the state, in the country. And we are finding out quickly with all the information that we are constantly evolving regardless of where we are. And then certain miracles, certain amazing things happen. So can you briefly describe, and then once you finish describing it, I'd like to invite Leslie to share the PowerPoint or the video that you sent her. Tell us a little bit about what happened during the transportation and the Muss close down for the COVID-19 pandemic in Israel.
Let me start off by telling everyone here that this was the most emotional experience the students have ever had in their lifetime. One of the most emotional experiences our teachers, our faculty, me, our deans, all have had in our lifetime. It was joyous, it was devastating, it was all of the emotions you could think at once. It was awe, it was amazing. It was all about family and taking care of our children. The moment this corona thing peeped its nose out into the world, we all began to follow, of course, including the state of Israel and the government of Israel. Putting politics aside and who we want to be prime minister or not is irrespective, it's irrelevant. Because when it comes in a time like this, an emergency, as we all know, the famous saying, Kol Israel Arevim ze bazeh, all of Israel is responsible one for the other. No one cares about the denomination. No one cares about your politics. At the end of the day, we want to exist in this world. And we're going to stick it through, and we're family. So it starts with that. We followed the developments as they were taking place, and they were very fluid. Every day there was another restriction. Every day we're following the Ministry of Health guidelines, the Ministry of Education. Now the schools are shut down. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to stay open, but for how long? We're not accountable to the Ministry of Education, but we are accountable to our students and to their families, ensuring them that we provide them with the safety and security of their kids. Number one. So we're following these developments. A week goes by, we're following developments. Next thing you know, just about March 12th, March 13th, we're learning about airlines cutting back on their flights from Israel to the US. Now we have 230 students on campus. That's a big number. Every single one of these kids we're responsible for. As we're following the restrictions and the guidelines and these airlines that are beginning to cut down on all their flights, we're thinking to ourselves, gosh, if tomorrow, because it could happen, everything was fluid, if tomorrow Israel decides no one's leaving, no one's coming back, what did we do here? So what, we're big heroes? We kept the kids with us? So what's the story here? Now we got to worry about them and that they can't go out and they have to stay in the dorm. Now we have to have the whole campus in lockdown. What's the point of that? Now take that in contrast to the fact that we've never shut down our program. No war, no intifada, nothing, as I mentioned, right? And now we're faced with this reality. The health and security of our students, of our children, and their parents, of course. And at some point, our nurses put their foot down, our medical team and staff, and said, guys, we can't promise this anymore. These kids can go off into Hod HaSharon, they can go into town, decide to go get a cup of coffee or a pizza or whatever it is, and God forbid they shake hands with the wrong person, and now they're exposed. And then their dormitory, and then their whole bus, and then their whole class, and then the whole campus. We couldn't do that to them, nor could we do that to ourselves and to our own families. The most difficult of decisions of the history of the history of the school had to be made. In conjunction with this, we're in daily communication with our colleagues at JNF, the executive management, who we work with very closely. 24 hours leading up to this decision. It was literally over a Shabbat. And for many of us who keep Shabbat, there's a saying, Pikuach nefesh dochei hakol. The health, the livelihood of human being pushes off Shabbat observance, even Shabbat observance. If you are in any doubt of someone's life and you keep Shabbat, you break Shabbat in order to secure and ensure the life of someone. So even many of us who keep Shabbat, we had our phones on, we were ready to go. We're figuring, we have 230 of our children in our hands. Finally, the decision was made. JNF, our parent organization, remember we belong to JNF. JNF, our parent organization, stood up and said, we're going to get these kids home. This is not about PR. Of course, it's an amazing story. Who else does this? This is about the health of the children. And of course, by extension, our future, because we want to still be around when we're ready to go. Sorry, just 1 second with the video. So the decision was made, JNF stepped up, and we chartered a plane to get all of our kids back home to the United States. It was a story of a lifetime, the story that is made of documentaries. And within 24 hours, on that fateful Sunday, I think it was on March 1st, that morning, I got to campus. I told our entire staff, tell all the students, they have to pack up now. They're going home. The kids were in shock, devastated. One of the things I did was I gathered all 230 students right here behind me. This is our quad on campus. If you've never been to campus, this is the center of campus. That building right over here, that's our education center. We gathered our 230 students in a big circle within 5 minutes. We wrapped our arms around each other, and we sang, Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How wonderful it is, brothers and sisters, to be sitting together. And our students were devastated. Our kids were coming up to me saying, I don't want to go home. I want to stay. I don't even care if it's Corona. I want to stay in Israel. I'm hearing this. First of all, I have tears because you know what? Mission accomplished. If we were going to ensure that we're creating young Zionists, it happened. But I'm also standing in tears because I'm in awe for these kids and that their journey has now wrapped up. And I tell them it hasn't ended, it's just begun. We got them to the airport that night. They flew home within 24 hours. They're home. All their parents are crying. Their parents are in shock. I can't believe you guys actually did this. I can't believe JNF stepped up and chartered a plane for my children. I couldn't imagine that they would actually do it. Because these are the things that stories are made of. And JNF did. And that's what this story is about. It's about family. It's about standing for one another. It's about sticking up for each other and supporting our children. And that's what happened exactly. Let me just quickly also mention that within 24 hours after their arrival, we provided an online training for all of our teachers, general studies, Israel studies, training how to teach online. Because now these kids are going home. Their schools are in quarantine. They're locked down. They're going to be nowhere. We owe it to them to keep their studies going. Even though they're home and even though we're using Zoom, en brera, there's no choice. Within 24 hours, all of our teachers were trained. All of our teachers within the next day sent schedules to their students. And since then, now we have 230 kids still learning with us online. Their general studies, their math, their science, their language, their Israel studies. They're so thankful. And the parents, the letters we get from these parents, so appreciative of what JNF AMHSI has done for their own kids, their own flesh and blood, taking care of them, bringing them home safe and sound, and now continuing to provide them the services that they need to keep them going while they're stuck at home doing nothing. This is such a remarkable story. And and you can imagine, I've now had maybe 10 or 15 of these virtual parlor meetings. And I tell the same story every time. And every time I get goosebumps and I want to cry, but I'm holding back because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of you all. But boy, what a story it is. And the story wouldn't happen without all of you. This is about all of us. We're in this together. This is about JNF stepping up and doing what had to be done. And with that, I'll end that little update about it. I know I went a little over 5 minutes. I apologize, but that's it.
Leslie, if you'd be kind enough to show the video, everybody can take a look at what the scene was like that morning of departure.
I'm not sure if you can share the sound on your screen, but there's a sound option there, perhaps. Let me just explain. This is that big circle I told you about on the quad. All 230 students together. And if you want to fast forward it.
Are they watching it?
All the way from Europe.
What'd you just do? I didn't do anything. I just paused. Just pause. Okay. I don't know. It just paused. Like it just froze. Okay. So the internet. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
So let me just explain just a little bit while everyone's watching. That's okay. What you saw there was that specific moment when we organized and mobilized all of our students to come together. Students from partner schools, students from independent public high schools, students from London, everyone coming together to spend their last couple of hours together on campus as they were beginning to pack up and get ready for their return back to the United States of America. It was an awe-inspiring scene, and I'm happy to, what I'll do is I'll, maybe if you want, Leslie, you can take the link and just put it here in the chat, and people can take a look at it after if they'd like.
Perfect.
That's great, Rabbi. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Tachlis. Let's talk a little bit from your opinion, since you are you're on the ground there. Tell us what the state itself, where you are, what you hear. Tell us a little bit briefly about what's going on from the human perspective.
Here in Israel.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to a group earlier. You know, we, Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, we have a funny kind of humor to us. Be it because of the existential challenges our people have been through throughout history, and we have no other choice but to laugh about things. But I do have to say there's a level of humor that that is quite interesting and entertaining here in Israel with regards to how things are happening. I don't know if all of you follow social media, or if you're following, you know, if you're getting on your WhatsApp or in other emails, you know, all kinds of videos and things that are taking place here. But overall, I do have to say that when it comes to crises, we've been through a lot. Historically, prior to the State of Israel's declaration of independence, and to this day, every other day, every other month, there's another rocket, there's something going on. So I have to say that the level of the resilience of the people of Israel is something as a model nation for any other country in the world. I think there is an opportunity here to learn about the resilience of the people of Israel, of Am Yisrael, who are able to really navigate through these crises. If it's neighbors knocking on each other's doors and just saying hello, if it's FaceTiming or reaching out to the elderly and supporting them. There are programs here in Israel. One program I know is called Adopt a Savta, right? A Savta in Hebrew is grandmother, or actually it's in Aramaic, but it means grandmother. So young people are adopting a grandmother who's alone at home, the elderly who are alone at home, adopting them, going out and buying their goods, shopping on their behalf and bringing them home, food to home. Even like the ultra religious, there was a tshuva, which is a responsum in English, a tshuva in Hebrew, which is an answer to a question when it comes to Jewish law. There was even a responsum written by a famous Sephardic rabbi here in Israel, who gave the permission for individuals who are home alone over Passover. Remember, I don't know what the rules like are in Israel, in the States, but here in Israel, you're not having Passover with anyone but your immediate nucleus. That's it. Your wife, your kids, you alone, you're alone. You can't go pick up your mom or your grandmother and bring them over to your house. Everyone is to stay home. That's what's going on here. And by the way, it's not just, in order to protect yourself, it's more to protect the elderly who are more at risk, right? You might be okay, but you're going to bring over your grandmother who knows how old to your home. She might be at risk. So my aunt, I have a great aunt, she's staying home alone. I had plans to go and pick her up, and now there's a rule, no one's spending Passover Seder with family. Everyone's got to be home. So she's going to be home. I joke with her, I said, who's going to ask the 4 questions? But she's going to be home alone. But even then, one of the nice things that happened here was one of the chief rabbis, the Sephardic rabbis, wrote a responsum giving permission on Passover Seder to zoom in with your family for the Seder to do it together. Now, for many of us, that might not mean anything because we're going to use Zoom anyway, or we're not observant, or, that doesn't mean it. But for those families who are, even so, just to show you when, there's a famous quote, where there's a rabbinic will, there's a halachic way. When the rabbis want to, they can be permissive. And so even there, we're seeing that happen. So what we're finding here in Israel is that really the people are coming together. Of course, there are instances where things are challenged. There was a funeral last week of a very major ultra Haredi rabbi, and we saw it in the streets. 400 people attended the funeral. I mean, for all of us who are taking precautions and staying home, including myself, that's a slap in the face. But of course, that's going to happen. But overall, the level of energy is high. People are optimistic. We're even all the more so optimistic for the fact that we, God willing, should have a unity government. We've had 3 elections in a year, which is ridiculous. At this point, no one cares who's prime minister. I don't care who's prime minister anymore. I just want a functioning government. I want a government of leaders who are going to be held accountable and be responsible for ensuring the safety and security of our little tiny nation state, this tiny little Israel that lives in the sea of you-know-what. So we're happy that there's a unity government on its way. God willing, they should make their decisions already and put their agreements in place and start functioning as we normally should, because the country needs it. We can't afford to just worry about the corona. While we're worrying about corona, we got to worry about unemployment. We got to worry about nonprofits. We got to worry about social services. We got to worry about our neighbors surrounding us. As you all know, we have very friendly neighbors, quote unquote, who are just looking for the opportunity to strike at us. This is a reality. We wish we had Canada as our neighbor to the north and Mexico as our neighbor to the south, but we don't. So we got to deal with these realities, and we do. And as you all know, because you are part of this, we are a very resilient people, and we'll make it through it all. History, despite all that's thrown at us, hasn't succeeded. We're still here.
Thanks, Rabbi. Appreciate that. You answered one of my questions that we had talked about, which was we know that approximately 1 in 8 Israelis right now are approaching or are currently unemployed because of what's transpiring there. What's next for Israel? What do you see after the government has finally aligned itself, after this passes and life gets back to some type of maybe a new normal? What do you see? What's your opinion about what Israel does next?
After Corona?
Yeah.
After Corona.
Yes.
Wow. My vision for what's going to be after this is a new era for all of us. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be exciting. It's going back to who we are as human beings. It's the human instinct to want to socialize, right? That's why they're calling it social distancing. We don't want to distance ourselves. Each and every one of us, we need that hug. We need that handshake. And let me tell you something. After this, I even posted on Facebook. I tell everyone, whoever I see in the streets, I don't care who it is, I'm giving them a hug. And I hope you're all going to do the same. Stranger, no stranger, who cares? At the end of the day, my exhale is your inhale. And your inhale is my exhale. We're in this together. En malasot, there's no choice in the matter. And what I envision and I pray, and I really believe, is that we're going to go back to our senses and to our humanity. Enough with this rat race. What are we chasing? Another dollar, a bigger house, a faster car? You're not going to take it to the grave with you. So what's your legacy? What is life all about? It's about legacy. And this is what you guys are all a part of. This is what we're a part of as being part of the JNF family. It's about legacy. It's about ensuring that all that we do is not just for us. This is the Jewish people. What we do today is for tomorrow. What we do today is to ensure the continuity of our people. That's what this is about. And I believe, just from what I sense, what I feel, the people I'm speaking to, and all of you, that that's what we're going to be heading towards. Is the day after, which is going to be amazing. And God willing, we're going to have the first ever in history National JNF USA Conference here in Israel. And for everyone who's registered, and for those who haven't, you must. We'll be here together dancing the horror in the streets. I'll be dancing on the tables, as you might know me by now, during an Erev Shabbat dinner. And we're going to be hugging each other and so happy and joyous. And this will be just a little taste of the world of above and the world as it should be here down below.
Thanks, Rabbi. Appreciate that very much. So, as I'm asking the next couple of questions, I'd like to invite anybody in the audience that might have a question. If you know how to use your chat on Zoom, do me a favor and just write in your questions, and we'll try to filter them and get to as many as we can, because we don't want to run over, and we still have a couple other points we'd like to talk about. So feel free to engage. Rabbi, so when we spoke last week, you told us a couple of very interesting things about where Muss is going and where education, virtual education, is going. Would you be able to share not only from the perspective of what the child can look forward to, but in my opinion, as important, what the adult learning is going to look like as we move forward into the next stage?
I want to make a statement. I want to state that education is the greatest cause of our time. Education is the greatest cause of our time for our youth, for our adults, for all of us. It's part of our tradition as well. We're taught that every morning we should be waking up and saying, I don't know anything, now let me go learn something. We're people of the book. Education is the greatest cause today because we've forgotten that, many of us. Including myself, I have to remind myself every morning to learn something, anything. Education is the greatest cause of our time. It's not for nothing that we say, and the rabbis say, Da me'ayin bata ule'an ata holech. Know from where you have come, and you'll know to where you're going. Our kids need to know who they are and what they are a part of. All of us need to continue our learning. Too many adults today don't know their own identity. I have lay leaders and donors I work with who say, I've been to Israel 30 times, and it's wonderful, and I love it, and I'm so inspired, but I'm not learning what I want to learn. I want to learn too. Why not? Why can't you learn more? And so, what we've learned now in the last 10 days, now that we're online, is that we have a tremendous opportunity. God willing, this will be behind us, and campus will open back up, and we'll welcome all the students in. We're going to actually take what we're doing here, and we're going to grow it. I already am in touch, and now I'm overseeing directly our Israel Studies, team of Israel Studies teachers. And we're taking all of we've learned, lessons learned that we're currently putting in place, and we're going to organize an online adult learning session. Whether it's a 6-week session, whatever it might be, we're going to be providing that online. Now, tomorrow, into the future, after campus opens, we'll continue doing it. In addition to this, as part of our experience over the years, we've come to learn that even Jewish educators who supposedly have a degree in education, even they need help. Even educators today don't know how to talk about Israel. When I was growing up as a kid in Brooklyn in the 70s, you said to me, Holocaust, the world hates us, there was a Shoah, go stand for Israel. Of course, I'm angry at the world hates me, I hate them back, that drives me. Today, that doesn't work. Today, we are competing with everything else that a kid wants in his or her life. Today, Israel is just a choice. Today, most Jews in the world are Jews by choice. No one's requiring you to stay Jewish. It's upon you to make that decision. So we're competing. We're competing with the best sneakers, to the biggest house, to all these materialistic things. It is what it is. We can complain about it, but it won't work. It is what it is. So we have to take what we do, and we got to be able to package it much better. So when people ask me, How do you teach Israel? The way I approach it, I tell people we're the winningest team in human history. I don't tell people and tell our students, you're going to go to college and you're going to be under attack. Why would I want to be a part of that team? I want to be a part of a team that's always under attack. I want to be part of a team that's a winning team. That's our people. We're still here. We're not taught about in the annals of history. You don't go and learn about the Jewish people in a textbook or in a museum. The Jewish people are still alive, and they went back home. What a story do we have to tell? Go study any other ancient people. Where are you going to find them? In a textbook and in a museum. And we're still here. And this is part of our message that we want to take moving forward as we continue to teach our students online, adult learning. It's never too late to learn, because God willing, our impact can only grow. So we're going to take this and we're going to take advantage of the online opportunities, and we're going to grow our efforts out there and reach out to everyone.
Thanks, Rabbi. I appreciate that. The final question for us on this side, and again, I encourage anybody that has questions to utilize the chat in Zoom. But for us, I'd like to know the latest update on the brand new campus that's being built, will be built in Beersheba, and what that's going to look like. And if you can give us a brief overview of that, we'd appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure. So first of all, let me talk about four tracks that are taking place right now as we speak. Okay, and what I'm going to do for you here also is I'm going to, let me see if I can find the rendition of it or what it might look like. Hold on, I'm going to share this. Let's see if this works. All right, let's see how that plays off. Anyway, just a minor rendition of what the campus could look like. So there are four tracks right now taking place in Hod HaSharon, and with our Beersheba campus. Number one, of course, is the fundraising and development. That is ongoing, right? Nothing is going to stop us from doing what we need to do. That needs to happen, and we're continuing with that effort. No matter if it's Corona, no matter if it's Budweiser, it doesn't matter what it is. We're going to continue with our efforts, because with social media and outreach, we can do that. That's number one. Number two, our workings and dealings with the municipality of Beersheba. We have weekly calls now. Myself, my colleague Eric Michelson, who's the Chief Israel Officer at JNF here in Israel, and whoever else needs to be a part of that. We have weekly calls with the municipality of Beersheba. The mayor's office, his director general, and her staff. Number two. Number three is content development. I'm heading up a committee of practitioners and thought leaders in the area of academia and education. We call it now the Global Education Council. These aren't lay leaders, these aren't donors. These are people who work in the field of education, teacher training, content development, and we're working on that as well, and that's happening. God willing, the gates of this new institute open up. We're going to have a wait list. Our goal is to have a wait list of students to be able to open up and start. We're in business. That's number three. The fourth track, of course, is construction, and that's on hold, and for understandable reasons. People aren't leaving their homes. The workforce isn't available, but that's okay. That will happen over time. In the meanwhile, we're continuing with all the other tracks, and God willing, in 5-year time, we'll be there.
That's great. Rabbi, thank you so much.
Thank
We're
you
at
all.
about 12:41. I think Josh, what I'll do is I'll turn it back over to you to wrap it up. And on behalf of all the professional staff at JNF, Leor, we appreciate you. Every time you come into town, you're extraordinarily uplifting, and your message is so powerful to not only the children and the adolescents, but also the adults and grandparents and parents. So thank you again. Josh, back to you.
Okay, and again, if there's any last questions, if you're not comfortable with the chat, you should be able to unmute yourself as well if you have a question. So while I'm wrapping it up, not too late till we're done. So
I see Toby has a question. Toby Halpern.
Oh, good. Thank you for catching that. Go ahead, Toby. You should be
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
This is not a question. This is a testimonial from a grandmother of a young woman, Rachel Warhoptic, who was airlifted back home to JFK. And Rabbi, I can't say enough words of thanks for all you did to get them home. And I can't say enough words of thanks for what an awesome, incredible, we know all amazing, we know all the words that the young people use, but that was her experience.
Wow.
I can't say enough about how she was inspired and changed. And of course, we're all saddened that it ended the way it did. But thank you.
Toby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you. And please send her our love. We miss her.
Well, she misses you, and she's diligently working on her computer on all her courses.
Good. Thank you. I'll let her teachers know.
We have a question coming in from Lori. What is the status of the summer sessions?
As of now, we have around 230, I think it is, students registered. As of now, like most summer programs, you'll find even in the U.S., summer sleepaway camps, Ramah and others, we're still on. There's no reason to shut down just yet. And we're keeping close tabs on things. We're communicating with the families, with the parents, and we're going to continue communication after Passover. We'll see what the next 2 weeks look like. Maybe we'll wait till May 1st. Our first summer session doesn't begin to the end of June. So maybe we'll wait to the 1st of May to see what the situation is. If students, families are able to fly, if the restrictions are laid down a bit, if we're able to provide that education, that's what we will. If we have to be flexible and maybe cut it short into a month, or instead of beginning at the end of June, begin the end of July, we'll do whatever we have to do to make it happen. And if, God forbid, we have to shut down for the summer, then we'll give parents options of either rolling over their tuition to a future session, full tuition return. I have to tell you that some families have even told us to take their tuition funds as a gift to us after all that we've done for their own families and such. So we're going to work with everyone, and God willing, summer will be robust and wonderful. I look forward to it. I hope.
Great, Rabbi.
That's amazing. And I wanted to, as we're wrapping up here, share my screen and show you how you can continue to stay connected. We have the Israel On Demand you should be seeing here. This is, you can get here, I'll put the link in the chat as well. We essentially every weekday, we are having different opportunities to connect and learn everything from cooking, this is spicing up your food, to Shabbat services, and the most relevantly at 1 o'clock each day, as we heard about, just to highlight again, Israel Education Online. So having the tremendous staff of the AHMSI to have an opportunity to sit in the classroom and to learn from them. And so that's open at all opportunities that are listed here. And again, that's JNF On Demand. So that's a wonderful opportunity to continue the learning in addition to the ones that we're having here as well. And one other PSA, members of the Orlando Board of Directors, stick around the call and you'll continue from there. But for everyone else, on behalf of the Northern Florida and Atlanta, Georgia, professional staff, administrative staff, and everyone here, thank you once again for being with us. Thank you again to Rabbi Leor Sinai for joining us and for the tremendous work that you're doing. And above all, please continue to be healthy and happy. And if we don't speak to you before, a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, happy and healthy Passover, and the time of our redemption should come soon.
Thank you. Be healthy, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
Chag
Take
Sameach.
care. God bless. God bless. Love you all.
Bye-bye.